Hey everybody, I'm Patrick McGrath, Education Technology Strategist here at TextHelp. And over the next 10 or so minutes, I'm joined by a very special guest who I'll introduce you to in a little second as a follow-up from our higher education panel discussion that hopefully you have attended and reviewed. Today, we have a very particular focus with our guest, and that focus is on something that's very important to my heart as well, and that's empowering students. When we look at integration of technology, deeper integration of technology, how do we help students with those tools? How do we ensure they're getting the maximum benefit from them and that they do embrace them? And so I'm very, very pleased to introduce you today to Dr. Vijesh Bhute, who is from Imperial College London. Dr. Vijesh was, of course, part of our panel yesterday, and very pleased to see you again today. Vijesh, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Nice to see you too. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good. So tell me a little bit about your particular role in Imperial College then.
I joined recently, but I was given the module leading position for two math courses for the first and second years in chemical engineering department. And I think the reason was mainly to make some radical changes, if you might, because I had a background from PhD in chemical engineering from Wisconsin Madison, where I did some pedagogical research using some online technology tools, one of them being WebWork. And so we wanted to make math curriculum a bit more relatable to students, and at the
Mhm.
same time also provide some feedback to the students while they are learning. And I think that's how my profile was kind of adding to what they were imagining, and I think that was how we came together. And yeah, I've been trying to get students involved in making some changes, making sure that I'm not moving too fast, too slow, and so on. And it has been really a nice experience so far.
Yeah. So obviously, with that focus, technology plays a very
Mhm.
central role in that. I'm guessing. Would that be true?
Yeah. Yeah, I think all of the things that we have been doing is mainly with technology, and I think uh, if we started thinking about it before, obviously everything hit us, but
Yeah.
I think now it's just it has pushed us, like maybe accelerated the timeline of things that we were gonna do. Yeah.
And do you think with that, I've talked to a lot of people about this through, lockdown and as we have started to emerge out of it. So do you believe, certainly at least in Imperial College and in the wider aspect, that technology use has clearly been accelerated, as you've said? Do you think that's with us to stay now? So we all are embracing more technology. Do you think we have to keep that moving now? Is that important?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I hope that whatever changes that we're making now should stay with us even after this end. So I don't think returning to normalcy should be our aim. I think it
Yeah.
should be to make improvements and kind of like adapt and learn
Yeah.
from them
Yeah.
and evolve. Maybe I think that should be our goal moving forward.
And when we were on the panel discussion, I was sort of fascinated at an almost, maybe you don't agree with this, and by all means let me know, but there seemed to be like a clear two-pronged approach in terms of that wider integration of technology. On one hand, there was sort of a central technology area or sort of a reformatting of resources,
Hmm.
a look at accessibility within that as well. But on the other hand, then there was the tools for the students as well to ensure that they could be
Yeah.
supported with this technology. Maybe first of all, just give me sort of a brief overview of that central hub that you created, or how important was that to the process of technology integration?
I think in that sense, if I can bring in, so I think Equatio played a very central role in
Okay.
transforming a lot of things that we were doing. So one of the things that I was working with a lot of undergraduate students who didn't have a lot of experience with LaTeX coding and etc., especially with math equations. And I think I had this ambition or a vision to do this all in LaTeX, obviously. And I think
Yeah.
having converting a lot of things, a lot of math, and like from scratch, I think it would have taken much longer for students to learn.
Yeah.
Whereas now we had notes, but then again we need to translate the equations from PDF to actually in a LaTeX format.
Yeah.
And I think there it was quite important to just snap it and then get a latex version out of it. I think that was really crucial to make things going very smoothly,
Yeah.
and we were able to achieve much greater changes than we could have. Um, and the second part of the question is providing student access to this. And I think uh, I wanted, like when I saw this, I was really kind of excited because just the level of ease of access, I think
Yeah.
it's right there. You can have it on the computer, on your Windows or Chrome, and wherever, and you can just take a picture of even handwritings, even PDFs and images. I think that really blew me away, which was, I think that was the critical aspect of things that really changes how we look at math
Yeah.
accessibility. Because I think, as I said, like it's still traditional, it's still writing equations on a board and still handwritten most of the
Yeah.
time when we are teaching. But if we can convert in real time potentially whatever we are writing into equations, so that it's not like, I mean, I know my handwriting is not the best, so I would
Yeah.
say it can be difficult for people to understand handwritten equations, and
Yeah.
even like it's from an accessibility perspective, this can be quite challenging.
Yeah.
um, and I know this is being done by some more technologies. I know OneNote has an ink to math converter, which can be quite useful. But having something where you write it on your notes or on your paper, and then take a picture and then just convert it to equations and stuff, I think that really is
Yeah.
quite key. Um, we did a lot of trials with students. Students really enjoyed it, and I think that we had students with varying kind of levels of coding experience and so on, and everybody was just using it on a day-to-day basis throughout the summer.
Yeah, and I suppose just listening to what you said there, that migration, I tend to talk a lot about Equatio whenever I'm doing sort of more formal presentations. That I try and explain it in simple terms, that it's a bridge from where practice was, that pen and paper. We can
Hmm.
still maintain that, but use digital
Yeah,
tools to get it. And I notice upsides out of that sort of process, like better accuracy or students checking their work a bit more, because somehow they get a little bit smarter about, did this definitely pick up my handwriting when it goes in digital, and they tend to proof it a bit more. And just small things that
yeah,
happen on the back of that process. And I suppose, would it be fair to say, Vijesh, when you take that, that's going to feed well into later study? Because when you come to a dissertation, or you come
hmm,
to a thesis further on down the line, then the importance of typed mathematics, like printed in a document, is crucial, in the accuracy around that. And I suppose Equatio helps you right the way through all of the levels of study. With that, is that what you're starting to find? I know it's new in terms of your priorities there, but do you think that stands students in good stead for the future?
yeah. I think so. I think students of varying levels have tried it, and they seem like it. I mean, personally, learning LaTeX can be challenging, and I mean, I know even though there are a lot of resources, a lot of tutorials out there, but it's just can finding the right tools, right resources is quite crucial in that sense. But yeah, I think it just makes life so much easier. Like if I know that this is the Navier-Stokes equation, or this is some equation that I need for my thing, and then I have to look for, oh, how do I write del? How do I write this and that? But if you
Yeah,
just take a snap and just do it, and it just
yeah,
saves so much time, and we can focus more on the content rather than figuring out how to actually code it.
yeah,
Um, and I think we use LaTeX mostly for dissertations or a lot of math heavy things. And that happens maybe uh, like not that often. So we don't
yeah,
really have to learn the whole language in a
yeah,
way. So I think that it really is quite empowering for students to just have something that they can rely on, and they can just take the snap or
yeah.
just write equation in the math in the tool itself, and then have in real time have the LaTeX thing if they want to learn, like how does this look like. Oh, that's how that is. It's just right there.
Yeah.
So I think that also is quite useful.
And I think, one thing I've said there is very important to maybe reiterate, which is that the importance of a tool like Equatio in that is to ensure that that learning of the tool or use of the tool doesn't negatively impact the actual overall learning or the course material,
Yeah.
and that it's not getting away. I sometimes, when I talk about sort of LaTeX and some complicated tools, I say, look, this is like me. English is my first language. I decide to study German, but my course tutor tells me I have to study French as an in-between language and translate it so many times before I get to the German part. And I think that's a reasonably close comparison to LaTeX sitting at that bridge. So, that's what we aimed for in Equatio, was to give students something easy to use that would
Mhm.
encourage them in learning and not
Yeah.
detract from it. We talked yesterday in the panel about pedagogy and deepening learning being far more important than technology tools, and I
Yeah.
am a firm believer that it should underpin. And so, how you mentioned earlier, students have embraced many of the sort of tools and processes you put in place. Is there
Yeah.
reluctance to learn a new tool for students, or have you found them readily open to new tools like Equatio as an example, but of course many other tools as well? How do you find that with students?
I think it's really important how you introduce it to them. So
Yeah,
it really is. It's just I think we covered this up somewhat in panel yesterday. It's just like when you introduce it, you just don't give them that and just
yeah,
leave it. So I think what I did with Equatio, or at least even the website or the platform that I have been developing for problems, which are again math aware kind of things. So
yeah,
all of that, what I've done is provided first an overview, like a tutorial kind of thing, just to this is how it is, and highlighted like the key features
yeah,
which can really like I don't have to go into nitty gritties, like just the
yeah,
beautiful aspects. I know what's the aspect that really distinguishes this tool from anything else. So
yeah,
since I have played around with it, I have gone through it, and I know what it is. And so in that sense, if I just highlight that, and then the people are just on board, like you don't need to motivate them a lot once they know
yeah,
the
yeah.
real use of it. Um, and so yeah, for my colleagues within the department, when I just showed that, look, I wrote this on paper and took a picture, and this is it. Like you can
There.
see it here,
Yeah,
and this everybody was like, yeah, we need that, and this is gonna help everyone, like PhD students, postdocs, all of them. So I think that just getting them that one peek, like an inside view of the
mhm,
key feature is quite cool, and then obviously showing them once the interest gets in, then figuring, like I think students are much more better at figuring things out with
yeah,
technology,
yeah.
if they have time and if they can explore kind of things. So I think with students it's slightly easier as compared to with staff who might be in loss of time in some cases.
And so on that, so if your approach is sort of almost sell the benefits of its meaningfulness and its
Yeah.
relevancy to them, I guess.
Hmm.
But beyond that, if you're saying, well, look, we introduce them to a couple of tools. Let's say we say, look, the equation editor and something like Equatio and perhaps the handwriting or the photographic tool, then
Yeah.
you're empowering students, I suppose, in that way, because you're providing them with a tool. And then is there an expectation that they kind of self-explore what works for them within their study? Was that a good approach for you, to give them the flexibility and independence to do that?
I think it can be a bit distracting if they need to explore completely on their own,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it might be, I mean, some students can be very good at it, but then some students might struggle a bit. So I think having them do certain things, like not necessarily forcing them to do certain things, but just having certain opportunities to use the tool in a certain way
Yeah.
makes them use it in that way. So again, like all the tools that we're introducing, we're making sure that the students will be using on a weekly basis. So
Yeah.
it's something that, oh no, this is not just for a revision or final exam. This is not just we introduce it in the beginning and leave it. So you are going to interact with it every week.
Yeah.
And so again, with some of the tools, with a problems statement, like the web work kind of tool which we are using, we are gonna introduce with some period of learning, so where we won't be grading anything or stuff and just
Yeah.
explore. So I think reducing the pressure, because I know some students can be very very focused in that sense that, oh, I need to get this right, rather than exploring it,
Yeah.
rather than getting things wrong and learning from it, I think. So providing them opportunities to learn in somewhat guided way, not exactly holding their hand, but but allowing them to explore in a controlled environment,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
So I think resources that we give them, the supporting documents, are crucial. It's not that they are not relevant. So I think they can be guiding principles of what they need to do. And once they start using it more, then they on their own they can explore. Oh, I didn't know this could do that, and they can share it with the students, and they can be then motivating other people.
And I think you mentioned a word there that I'm not sure even came up in the panel discussion, but I've always found it, whether I'm working with primary school teachers, secondary school, or higher ed or adult learning, that word opportunity. And I always say to people that the importance of technology, once you kind of get your head around it and you understand it and you know how it can help you, is actually to create the opportunity to
Hmm.
be able to use it. And I'm really glad you picked that up, because I think that's such an important area. We can empower students with tools. We can buy technology like Equatio, and look,
Hmm.
there's no point in any of that if we don't give them the opportunity to use it. So
Yeah.
obviously you are clearly doing that with your students. And I suppose, just to follow on from that, this move to digital, in terms of using more digital tools within mathematics, and within the department, has that had other positive effects? As an example, does that mean things are more accessible? So you mentioned on the panel HTML math content, so it's easier to access, and obviously we've
Yeah.
got compliance in place now. So
Mhm.
has tools like Equatio been able to make maths more accessible from that needs perspective?
I think it has. So when we converted, like we were exploring how best to make sure that the students can access it, right? The lecture notes mainly.
Yeah.
I mean, the motivation was also from the fact that sometimes these lecture notes have been going on since a long time, that there might be some errors which we need to update or we need to fix, and so these can be lost in like with time, with the original files and so on. So we wanted to also make it so that it was live and we can update it in a way. So I think it all started from there. But then we started working with some motivated students who have been doing something similar in our department, and then they suggested using a website, and we were like, okay, that sounds like a good idea for math especially. Um, because and I was not very familiar at that stage with accessibility requirements, but again, with the regulations coming in, it got I got more awareness from it, from learning
Yeah.
about it. And I think then we decided, I think that this is needed.
Mhm.
And so we then ended up converting, and I think Equatio was central to it. We had over 7 students working on various projects, and I think all of them were using Equatio every day, daily, as I said.
Mhm.
And I think the whole point was to code in LaTeX to get everything in HTML format for the students to access as a website. And then even on the problem kind of database, there also we are coding questions relevant for their teaching. So there was a lot of coding that was going on during the summer, and I think it was, as I said, accelerated significantly by
Yeah.
Equatio.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant.
Mhm.
Okay. Just listen. That was a great sort of 15 minutes or so there on empowering students, and I know you and I could talk for many hours probably on what you've achieved there in Imperial College London. So listen, I appreciate your time today. I wish you all the best with what has obviously been a significant period of change for all of us, but you've obviously instigated a lot of change within Imperial College there, and anything we can do at Text Help to help you going forward, we're more than happy to do so. So, Dr. Vijesh Bhute, thank you so much for your time today and on our panel. And I hope we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.